happened to George?
I asked him to wait in the car. Listen to me now. Can you take some advice? Don't bring him in here.
Why?
Kate is in bad shape. You can't explode this in front of him.
Explode what?
You know why he's here. Don't try to kid it away. There's blood in his eye. Drive him someplace and talk to him alone.
Don't be an old lady.
He's come to take her home. What does that mean? You know what that means. Fight it out with him someplace else.
I'll drive him someplace.
No.
Will you stop being an idiot?
Look, nobody's afraid of him here. Now cut that. Well, hell of a way to do. What are you sitting out there for?
Doctor said your mother isn't well.
Well, she'd want to see you, wouldn't she? We've been waiting for you all afternoon.
This is filthy. Didn't you bring another shirt? How about the beach, Jim?
Oh, it's too hot to drive.
How'd you get to the station, Zeppelin?
This is Mrs. Bayless, George. George. Mrs. Bayless?
How do you do?
You're the people who bought our house, aren't you?
That's right. Come and see what we did with it before you leave.
Oh, I liked the way it was.
He's frank, isn't he?
See you later. Take it easy, fella.
Thanks for driving him. So how about some grape juice, George? Mother made it especially for you.
Good old Kate. Remembered my grape juice.
You drank enough of it in this house. How you been? Here, sit down.
It takes me a minute. Seems impossible.
What?
I'm back here.
So you've gotten a little nervous, haven't you?
Yeah, towards the end of the day. What are you, a big executive now?
She's kind of medium. How's the law?
I don't know. When I was studying in the hospital, it seemed sensible. But outside, there doesn't seem to be much of a law. Trees got thick, didn't they? What's that?
Flew down last night. We had it there for Larry. You know.
Why? Afraid you'll forget him?
What kind of a remark is
When did you
that?
start wearing a hat?
Today. From now on, I decided to look like a lawyer anyways. Don't you recognize it?
Why? Where?
Your father's? He asked me to wear it.
How is he?
He got smaller.
Smaller?
Yeah, little. He's a little man. That's what happens to suckers, you know. It's good I went to him in time. Another year, there'd be nothing left but his smell.
What's the matter, George? What's the trouble?
The trouble? The trouble is, when you make suckers out of people once, you shouldn't try to do it twice.
What does that mean?
You're not married yet, are you?
George, will you sit down and stop?
Are you married
No,
yet?
I'm not married yet.
You're not going to marry him.
Why am I not going to marry him?
Because his father destroyed your
Now
family.
look, George.
Cut it short, Chris. Don't come with me. Let's not argue. You know what I've got to say.
You don't want to be the voice of God, do you?
I'm not gonna-
That's been your trouble all your life, you know? You dive into things. Now, what kind of statement was that to make? You're a big boy now.
I'm a big boy now.
So don't come bullying in here. If you have something to say, be civilized about
Don't civilize
it. Are you going to talk like a grown man, or aren't you?
Sit down, dear. Don't be angry. Now, what's the matter? What happened? You kissed me when I left?
My life turned upside down since then. I couldn't go back to work when you left. I wanted to go to Dad and tell him you're going to be married. It seemed impossible not to. He loved you so much. Annie, we did a terrible thing. We can never be forgiven. Not even to send him a card at Christmas. I didn't visit him once since I got home from the war. Annie, you don't know what was done to that man. You don't know what happened.
Of course I know.
You can't know. You wouldn't be here. Dad came to work that day. The night foreman came to him and showed him the cylinder heads. They were coming out of the process with defects. There was something wrong with the process. So Dad went directly to the phone and called here and told Joe to come down right away. But the morning passed, no sign of Joe. So Dad called again. By this time, over 100 defectives. The army was screaming for stuff, but Dad didn't have anything to ship. So Joe told him. On the phone, he told him to weld, cover up the cracks in any way he could, and ship them out.
Are you through now?
I'm not through now! Dad was afraid. He wanted Joe there if he was going to do it. But Joe can't come down. He's sick. Sick! He suddenly gets the flu, suddenly. But he promised to take responsibility. Do you understand what I'm saying? On the telephone, you can't have responsibility. In court, you can always deny a telephone call, and that is exactly what he did. They knew he was a liar the first time, but in the appeal, they believed that rotten lie, and now Joe's the big shot, and your father's the patsy. Now, what are you gonna do? Eat his food? Sleep in his bed? Answer me, what are you gonna do?
What are you going to do, George?
He's too smart for me. I can't prove a phone
Then
call.
how dare you come in here with that rot?
George, the court!
The court did not know him. But you know him. And you know in your heart that Joe...
Lower your voice or I'll throw you out of here.
She knows. She knows.
Get him out of here, Annie. Get him out of here.
George, I know everything you've said. Dad told
not know you, Manny.
But he'll say anything, George. You know how quick he can lie.
I'll ask you something. And you look me in the eyes when you answer me.
I'll look you in the eye.
You know your father?
I know him well.
And he's the kind of boss that let 121 cylinder heads be repaired and shipped out of his shop without even knowing about
He's
it.
that kind of boss.
The same Joe Keller who never leaves his shop without first going around to see that all the lights are
The
out.
same Joe Keller.
The same man who knows how many minutes a day his workers spend in the toilet.
The same man.
And my father, that frightened mouse who'd never buy a shirt without bringing somebody along. He dared do such a thing on his own.
On his own. And because he's a frightened mouse, this is another thing he'd do. Throw the blame on somebody else because he's not man enough to take it himself. He tried it in court, but it didn't work. But with a fool like you, it works.
Chris, you're a liar to yourself.
Don't talk like that.
Tell me, George, what happened? The court record was good enough for you all these years. Why isn't it good now? Why did you believe it all these years?
Because you did. That's the truth, Chris. I believed everything because I thought you did. But today I heard it from his mouth. From his mouth, it's altogether different from the record. Anyone who knows him and knows my father will believe it from his mouth. Your dad took everything we have. I can't beat that. But she is one item he's not going to grab. Now get your things. Everything they have is covered with blood. And you're not the type of girl who can live with that. Now get your things.
You're not going to believe that, Annie, are you?
You know it's not true, don't you?
How can he tell you? It's his father. None of these things have even crossed your mind.
Yes, they crossed my mind. Anything can cross your mind.
He knows, Annie. He
Like
knows.
the voice of God.
Then why is it your name in the business? Explain that to
What the
me.
hell has that got to do with anything?
Annie, why is this name on it?
Even when I don't own it.
Who are you kidding? Who gets it when he dies? Open your eyes. You know the both of them. Isn't that the first thing to do the way they love each other? J.O. Keller and Son.
I'll settle it.
Do you want me to settle it or are you afraid to?
What do you mean?
Let me go up and talk to your father. In 10 minutes you'll have the answer. Or are you afraid of the answer?
I'm not afraid of the answer. I know the answer. But my mother isn't well, and I don't want to fight here now.
Let me go.
You're not going to start a fight here now.
What more do you want?
Someone is
You
coming.
don't say anything now.
You'll go soon. I'll call a cab.
You're coming with me.
And don't mention marriage because we haven't told her yet.
You're coming with
You
me.
understand? Don't, George. You're not going to start anything here now.
Georgie, Georgie.
Hello, Kate.
Oh. They made an old man out of you. Look, you're gray.
I know.
I told you when you went away, Georgie, don't try for medals.
I didn't try, Kate. They made it very easy for me.
Go on, you're all alike. Why did you say he looks fine? He looks terrible.
I feel all right.
Well, I'm sick to look at you. What's the matter with your mother? Why don't she feed you?
He just hasn't any appetite.
Well, if he ate in my house, he'd have an appetite. I pity your husband. Sit down, I'll make you a sandwich.
I'm really not hungry.
Honest to God. Breaks my heart to see what happened to all you children. How we worked and planned for you, and you ended up no better than us.
You haven't changed at all. You know that, Kate?
None of us changed, Georgie. Joe was just talking about the day you were born, and the water got shut off. People were coming from miles away with buckets of water. Strangers would have thought the whole neighborhood was on fire. Why didn't you give him some juice?
I offered it to him.
You offered it to him. Give it to him. Now you're gonna sit down there, drink some juice, and look like something.
Kate, I feel hungry already.
She could turn Mahatma Gandhi into a heavyweight.
Listen, to hell with the rest of it. I got a ham in the icebox and frozen strawberries and avocado.
Swell, I'll help you.
The train leaves at 8:30, Anne.
You're leaving.
No, Mother, she's not.
You hardly got here. Give yourself a chance to get acquainted again.
Sure, you don't even know us anymore.
Well, if they can't stay,
No,
don't
it's
they-
just a question of George,
Now,
Mother.
wait a minute, Chris.
If you want to go to the station, I'll take you now. But if you're staying, no arguments while you're here.
Why should he argue? Georgie and us have no argument. We all got hit by the same lightning. Did you see what happened to Larry's tree? Imagine, while I was dreaming of him in the middle of the night, the wind came along.
Hey, Georgie, 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 Georgie!
Hello, Laffy. What'd you do, bro?
I'm a big girl now.
Look what she can do to a hat.
Did you make that?
10 minutes.
I only rearranged
You
it.
still make your own clothes?
Ain't she classy? All she needs now is a Russian wolfhound.
Feels like somebody's sitting on my head.
No, beautiful Kate.
She's a genius. You should have married her. This one can feed you.
Oh, stop that, Kate.
Didn't I hear you had a baby?
You don't hear so good. She got 3 babies.
No kidding. 3.
Yeah, it was 1, 2, 3. You've been away a long time, Georgie.
I'm beginning to realize.
You know, the trouble with you is that you think too much.
Well, we think too.
Yes, but not all the time.
They never took Frank, huh?
No, he was always 1 year ahead of the draft.
It's amazing. When they were calling boys 27, Frank was 28. When they made it 28, he was 29. That's why he took up astrology. It's all in the way you were born. It just goes to show that...
What does it go to show?
Don't be so intelligent. Some superstitions are very nice. Did he finish Larry's horoscope?
Oh, go ask him now. I'm going in. Would you like to come see my babies?
Come on.
I don't think so, Lydia.
All right.
Good luck to you, George.
And you. And Frank.
Oh, Frank! Frank! She got pretty, eh?
Very pretty.
She's beautiful, you damn fool!
She makes it seem so nice around here.
See what happened to you because you didn't listen to me? I told you to marry that girl and stay out of the war.
She used to laugh too much.
And you didn't laugh enough. Well, you were getting mad about fascism. Frank was getting into her bed.
He won the war, Frank.
All the battles.
The day they started the draft, Georgie, I told you you loved that girl.
And truer love hath no man.
I'm smarter than any of you.
She's wonderful.
And now you're gonna listen to me. You had big principles. Eagle Scouts, the three of you. So now I got a tree. And this one. And when the weather gets bad, he can't stand on his own 2 feet. And that big dope next door who does nothing but sit around and read Andy Gump, has 3 children and his house paid off. Stop being a philosopher and look after yourself. It's just like Joe was saying. You move back here, he'll get you started with a job, and I'll find you a girl and put a smile on your face.
Joe? Joe wants me here?
He asked me to tell you, and I think it's a good idea.
Certainly. Why must you make believe you hate us, Georgie? Is that another principle, that you have to hate us? You don't hate us. You can't fool me, I diapered you. You remember Mr. Marcy's daughter?
She's got you hooked already.
You look her over, Georgie. You'll see she's the most beautiful.
She's got warts, George.
She hasn't got She's got a little beauty mark on her chin.
Yeah, and 2 on the nose.
Father's a retired police inspector.
Sergeant George.
He's a very kind man.
He looks like a gorilla.
He never shot anybody.
Well, look who's here. George, good to see you.
How are you, Joe?
So, getting old. You coming to dinner with us tonight?
No, I gotta be back in New York.
I'll call a cab for you.
Too bad you can't stay, George. Sit down. He looks fine.
He looks terrible.
That's what I said, George. You look terrible. I wear the pants and she beats me with the belt.
I saw your factory on the way from the station. It looks like General Motors.
I wish it was General Motors, but it ain't. Sit down, George. Sit down. So you finally went to see your father, I hear.
Yeah, this morning. What kind of stuff do you make now, Joe?
A little of everything. Pressure cookers, an assembly for washing machines. Got a nice flexible plant now. So how'd you find Dad? Feel all right?
He's not well, Joe.
It's not his heart again, is it?
It's everything, Joe. It's his soul.
How about seeing what they did with your house?
Oh, leave him be.
I'd like to talk to him.
Sure, he just got here. It's the way they do it, George. A little man makes a mistake and they hang him by the thumbs. The big ones become ambassadors. Wish you'd have told me you were going to see Dad.
I didn't know you were interested.
In a way, I am. I'd like him to know, George, that as far as I'm concerned, anytime he wants, he's got a place with me. I'd like him to know that.
He hates your guts, Joe. Don't you know that?
Well, I imagined it, but that can change, too.
Steve was never like that.
Well, he's like that now. He'd like to take every man who made money in the war and put him up against the wall.
He'll need a lot of bullets.
And he'd better not get any.
It's a sad thing to hear.
Why? What'd you expect him to think of you?
Sad to see he hasn't changed. As long as I've known him the past 25 years, a man never learned how to take the blame. You know that, George?
Well,
But you do know. Because the way you come in here, you don't look like you remember it. Like in 1937, when we had that shop on Flood Street, and he damn near blew us all up with that heater he left burning for 2 days without water. He wouldn't admit it was his fault either. I had to fire a mechanic to save his face. You know that, George?
yes, but that was...
But I'm just mentioning it, because it's just another one of a lot of things. Like when he gave Frank that money to invest in oil stock.
I know.
But it's good to remember those things, kid. Like when he cursed Frank when the stock went down. Was that Frank's fault? To listen to him, Frank was a swindler, and all I did was give him a bad tip.
I know those
Then
things.
remember them. Remember them. There are certain men in this world who'd rather see everybody hanged before they learn to take the blame. You understand me, George?
The cab's on its way. Would you like to wash?
Why must he go? Make the midnight, George.